This man got here on time. Good morning.
Good morning.
Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. May we bow our heads, please. Our Father who art in heaven, thank you for this day. Thank you for this season. Thank you, Lord, for these supervisors who are going to be voting and discussing things that will affect the whole community. God, we pray that the community come together and all of us do what you would have us to do. We pray for the young, the old, and the in-between. Help us, Lord, to do what we need to do. Help us to get along with each other, teach each other, and learn to lead and follow. God, we ask that you give your best guidance to these supervisors this day. Thank you for having us come together today to wake up, clothed in our right mind. Thank you, Father, for all of our blessings. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Amen. We'll start off with legal if we could, please.
Thank you, Supervisor Stokes. Good morning, Supervisors. This morning, I have arranged for supervisors, all of you or any of you who would like to meet with Judge Green, to meet with her at approximately 11:30. We have two new supervisors who have not had the opportunity to hear directly from her with respect to the grand jury report. We've had continued executive session meetings to work through issues pertaining to the report. And so I thought it would be a good opportunity for those of you, again, doesn't matter how many, to spend some time with her and ask her questions or hear from her directly. Supervisor Stokes, Supervisor Calhoun, it's on you whether you want to visit with her again. You would have that option. I would ask that we do that in executive session because, of course, it does pertain to the grand jury report and those discussions. There would not be any votes or action taken. And Greta, we will make sure we document that accordingly and get that to you tomorrow. For those of you who want to meet. Obviously, if it's less than a quorum, that's fine as well. Judge Green has a murder trial that she's presiding over. I think it's been on television this week. Somebody who was run over in a parking lot. And so she said approximately 11:30 she could give us some time. And we can, she can come over here or we can go over to her chambers over there across the street, whichever is more convenient at that time. I don't know how long her business is going to take this morning, but she apologized for not being able to be available before approximately 11:30. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions?
I was saying questions on that.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll now move to the agenda. And first item is Byron Clinton corridor. And the second item is IMS discussion. I think Supervisor Calhoun gave us a corrected statement. It's going to be land use plan. Is the land use plan and the Byron Clinton corridor the same item? It's the same item, so we can take over those items and have a presentation. If you just would please just introduce yourselves and give us some handouts and tell us if you want to follow the handouts.
Yes, sir. I think I've already passed out.
Yeah, you want us to follow the handouts from your discussion?
Sir, yes, sir.
You want us to follow the handouts from your
Yes, sir.
discussion? Okay.
Yes, sir. What we're gonna do is, we're gonna pretty much give you an update from the Byron Green corridor. Of course, you know, there's several different, my name is Tommy Avac with IMS Engineers, and I have friends that's Carl Polly with me. The Byron Green corridor has several different phases, and just want to update everybody on the different things that the Hinds County has went through with this project. Initially, there was an environmental phase that was done to initiate this project. Once the first route was developed and established, then the county started doing the design on the entire corridor from I-20, the north of the corridor, all the way down to Byron, the city of Byron, which is on I-55 south. After the design was done, the county initiated the right-of-way phase. But, you know, in the process, the county was being proactively thinking about the zoning requirements for the corridor once that corridor is built. So in addition to the design and the right-of-way acquisition, the county developed a land use plan for the corridor within certain miles of the corridor, and that's what we're here to talk about today, is the land use plan. And the design has been completed pretty much, and I think that the county is setting up where they can build the corridor in various phases. Segment 5, which is from Davis Road to I-55 South, has already been constructed or reconstructed. And now you got from I-20 to Sam Hanna Road, which is segment 1A. And then you got segment 1B from Sam Hanna Road to the Raymond Clinton Road. And then segment 2 is on the southern part from Parks Road to Davis Road, which is going to connect to segment 5. And those segments are basically segments I think that the county has initiated, making sure they can expedite getting the right of way so that they can, in order to complete the construction of it. But what we're going to talk about today, and there's also another phase that the county is working on, and that's wastewater feasibility study. But what we're going to talk about today is the zoning plan, and this was done a while back, and I think that we had public hearings, and we have a draft plan that the board has already, and basically we're going to give you an update on that land use plan.
Good morning, Supervisors. We did this plan way back in 2009, 2010. We started the initial assessment in 2009. We met several stakeholders, including the cities of Clinton, Raymond, and also the garden. And we met supervisors at the time, and we had a public hearing in May 2010. In fact, the staff report tells us we had a first public hearing in May 2010, and there were some comments from Heritage Park, basically Hinds Community College, regarding the airport overlay zone. We included them. There's some comments about including some sort of greenways between two districts. We included that. We came back to the board in September 2010. At the time, the draft general regulations were approved, pending the final for future states. What we're going to do now is we're going to go through what has been done 3 years back, 3 years back, and give a brief synopsis of how our plans are and what that will come from. This is the agenda, what is the update about the project status, and briefly summarize about the draft general regulations. And at the time, Mr. McCarter was our team leader from on the side, and most of it he looked better than me definitely. So he's going to pull me back for several things if I did mistakes. I think the first thing which we told when during the meetings with the cities is these amendments does not apply to any of the constituencies like Clinton, Ohio, and Raymond, because this only applies to area within the Hinds County unincorporated area. That's the first thing which we made sure that in the public hearing we told specifically that there are some concerns that the county is overstepping the boundaries and doing a land use plan. We said this is only applicable to the areas within Hinds County. But we got some good suggestions from the constituencies which we incorporated there. And this is the current status. This is the draft general regulations have been finalized, and we conducted the hearing in May 2010. Presented regulations in September 2010, I think September 6th. And waiting for the final approval to go and remodify the regulations. If this looks, in fact, what we have here is if you look at the existing conditions right now, and fly actually over the Vanderbilt corridor, what you can see there's a vast development at the 55 corridor, which is at the southern portion, which actually we are flying right from the final right now. And if you go further up, the development actually reduces the development density. And if you go for across Highway 18, basically, then there's nothing like a development except we have a small heritage park, which is going to come up in the future. And there's some development near St. Thomas Road. This is basically we're flying right now over the Raymond area. And all the red dots actually show the existing on-site treatment systems which we actually cover the wastewater facilities plan. So all the red dots what are showing is basically having some sort of development there. Go further 18 up, the development actually reduces further down. So there's some sort of two different scenarios. One is below 18, there is some sort of faster development, and then above 18, it's not actually really developing at all as of now. But it's not
The red dots represent what?
the existing on-site facilities, on-site wastewater treatment facilities, septic tanks, or
Also,
so it just shows you the density of the existing development, because what we also know here is the existing area doesn't have any sewer facilities as such. So the development proposals which will come in the near future, the county is also planning ahead and making sure that the wastewater facilities are provided, so that we are not working on a different task. This is the existing condition which was before the Cyber Road project was implemented, the last section from 55 to Davis Road. Sorry, loading. Make it easier now, right? That's done. Sorry, but there's some problems when I show the videos of existing conditions of all the roads that made the mistakes like Simon Road, Davis Road, and Parks Road. Somehow, I think the videos are working. We'll skip a little, we'll come back at the end again. When we start the assignment, the first question was to the asked is what's going to be the role of this corridor in future? How this corridor is going to shape up the western part of Hinds County. We know that definitely whenever two major roads meet, it's going to be a major impact generator, major development generator. Definitely. So we have in the corridor in Sector 55 on the southern side, which is going to be a major place for commercial or institutional establishments. But most of it's already on the higher area. So we have two more anchor points basically, which is the Highway 18 and the Vanderbilt corridor, which is going to create a major intersection again. And also near 20 and Vanderbilt corridor. So we have three anchor points which is going to develop, which is going to have some sort of an anchoring for this corridor for future development activities. At the same time, the county is also planning for John Williams Airport, which is at John Williams Airport Airtech Park, which is in the Raymond area. Those are the four premises which we start working on. So we have four anchor points to work on. If you look at the existing comprehensive plan, which is for 2030, which was approved by the county somewhere in 2005, the total land requirements for Hinds County for future is about 35,000 acres. So this project will not give all 35,000 acres for future development, but it's going to give at least roughly around 12,000 acres for future development for Hinds County. How we identify the future development zone is normally any impact from major corridor, any transit, it has shown that everywhere, most of the places, it's about up to 1 mile it have an impact on the corridor, basically from the center line from the corridor onward. So the zone regulations are being drafted up to 1 mile of the corridor because we don't really know how far the impact will go, but at least based upon the existing studies elsewhere, it's up to 1 mile the impact is there. The existing approximately about 45,000 acres will be impacted, of which two-thirds of the area is not all of that now. The proposal is what they said is they would we divided into 4 sectors, water from center of the corridor. The first sector will be basically high commercial institutional pieces. This is basically mixed use. And as we move on from the corridor, the land regulations proposed are changes from commercial onwards to residential. And the final sector basically at about 3/4 mile from the corridor. This is how they typically look like when everything, all the data will come back and will come differently in the next 30 years, where the first place we have high commercial, institutional, C3 and institutional, then have a C1 and C2, which is small commercial. Then we have an R1, R2 zone, which is single family housing. Then the next one is high density housing as we move away from the corridor. This looks like, this is the existing land use right now, as of, this is in 2010, there's some change different in 2010 for the last 3 years. And once these, this is going to be the future designated land use, based upon the changes that have been proposed, with respect to the change in land use for commercial and institutional. I said, total requirements for the Hinds comprehensive plan, which is estimated about 5,000, but this project is going to give at least about 1,500 acres of development. What we also incorporated in these regulations are overlay districts, basically for environmental overlay. The county wants to make sure that it doesn't impact the pristine water bodies or the streams. So something like a prime farmland, like just an overlay or a biotic overlay, which takes into account that means no construction or no development about 50 feet from the stream. The flood hazard overlay. At the time, the county was implementing the flood zone ordinance. So we incorporated those ordinances, those regulations into the zoning. And also the buffer overlay, which came into existence when we talked to the cities. So they said we don't want any same kind of regulations along with this. The regulations also talk about the non-conforming uses. What has been written and discussed several times is we will not have all the existing uses are grandfathered into it unless they change for unless they don't use it for the same purpose. If somebody has an existing house in the existing C1 area, we are not going to change it. It's grandfathered into it unless they are not using for the same purpose for 3 consecutive years. There are also regulations for the parking.
Excuse me, did you say 3 years?
It's minimum of 3 years. There are also regulations of parking, which has been designed based upon the LEED guidelines to make sure that the minimum maximum standards. It's not that giving you one number that the developer should have 50 parking spaces for so much of square feet, but the minimum maximum, it has been highly recommended to have some sort of shared parking between 2 different uses between them. And the other thing which should be also incorporated is that the landscaping of the parking areas. Most of the time, we don't see any good landscaping of the parking areas. We want to make sure to reduce the runoff from the parking areas so that we don't really pollute the streams, to reduce the stormwater impacts. So we have a landscaping requirements for the parking areas. Third one is, as of now, the county doesn't have the landscape regulations in the zoning ordinance. So, but we know that the corridor area is going to develop as a number one infrastructure feature in this region. So we incorporate the landscape regulations to make sure that there are minimum landscape requirements for all the uses, whether it's commercial or residential or institutional. All the blank walls, examples of all blank walls to be landscape, and commercial landscape requirements vary from 20-30% depending upon where establishment is, and the residential is basically around 40-40%. If it's a brand new development, it's going to be more landscape. The next one being also incorporated the sign regulations. We had a lot of discussions with the Supervisor, Mr. Phil Fisher, and he gave some good points on what to incorporate sign regulations. The one thing we see when we go on a corridor is we see signs. With respect to those, no scale between the developments and the signs. We want to reduce that and make sure that the signs are in sync with the type of developments coming. So one thing is we were limited for the number of signs for each use, and also the height of the sign, which we can actually use for in development. This is the summary of what has been done about 3.5 years back, and the draft regulations were presented for the board at the time. And as the board wants to move forward, we can go back for the final regulation.
Time for questions? Okay, we'll start down to my right. We'll start with Supervisor Calhoun.
I don't have any questions, but I would like to thank the engineers of Hinds for the work that has been put into this particular plan and encompassing all of the very important elements regarding the plan. And I'm here to say to the board this morning, their work was complimentary.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Supervisor McQuay?
Thank you, Supervisor Stokes. Don't have any questions on that particular part of it. I was involved with the public hearing, so I am familiar with the layout, the zoning, the different sections of the parkway. And even as of right now, if I'm not mistaken, the zoning has been adopted by the board with a provision that some amendments to be done and bring those back at a later date, last understanding. So it has progressed quite a ways as it relates to the layout of the entire project. I'm not sure, and you guys can answer this, Calvin, maybe when you start plugging in and looking at the wastewater and some of the other aspects of it, who's actually working on that? Is that IMS as well, or is there? And I don't know if there is a comprehensive plan already. That part I don't know anything about yet, so I don't know if we can talk about that yet, or just give them.
Well, basically, all of the phases that I was talking about earlier, as far as the environmental design and everything that we've been doing, as far as the design team and IMS and Wagner and you know, of course, with the zoning and also to the wastewater feasibility study, everything is pretty much a part of that environmental assessment phase, and it goes back to the comprehensive plan that Stringers was talking about that the board had adopted in 2007. Yeah, so basically, it's a part of the implementation of that comprehensive plan that you all had already adopted initially.
So the acquisition of property has been completed in, I'm going to get those sections back, environment, section 5, and then Davis Road to 18, was it section 4?
It's a second one.
Okay, sorry. Section 2, so as of perhaps midsummer, everything's in place to actually start doing work. We don't have to do anything else as far as wastewater at this point in time. I know we're trying to do an overall plan or something.
Right. As far as the road construction is concerned, that has been handled through FHWA, through the funding that you have with FHWA. As far as the feasibility study for the wastewater, that is being handled through EPA. And so basically, the feasibility study, we're working on the preliminary design phase right now.
Can we get each of the supervisors another copy of the feasibility study?
We can, yes, sir. Yeah. So we're in the second phase of the feasibility study, which is basically developing the preliminary plan for that.
Supervisor Greer?
Couple things. One, and I'll ask Darrell, because you may know, is this an overlay district? Does this have its own zoning? Or does it just fall into the zoning that we have for all areas?
It has its own specific zoning.
Okay, so the signage, landscaping, all those items are specific to this overlay district.
Overlay, with the exception of the cities. Where the overlays in the city, it yields to the city.
Yields to the city, which probably are stricter standards. So, and I appreciate the work that y'all done. I think it's a very important project. I know that you guys probably have some issues. I'm trying to compile legislative issues, things that we want to take as a board and department heads to various senators and representatives. I believe that y'all might have some issues that you might like to address with MDOT, some wording on some things that I guess as it usually relate to earmarks and how MDOT handles some funds and stuff. I would like to visit with somebody from IMS about that, and also Wagner. I know there's somebody from Wagner here, and Peter as well. So, but I appreciate the work that you've done.
I want to start off with saying that I understand your work. I've seen it, great work. My questions is not an indictment of the company, but it's just basic questions. And the first thing you think of is the legal part. part of things when the first thing they taught you in law school was, flim flam. Everything you're saying here sound good, look good, but that's how a pigeon drop happen. Man come to you, show you some money, say, look, I'm gonna let you hold this money, but you go give me some of your money. Only thing in the bag is paper. Now, everything you're saying sound good. How we gonna pay for it?
Well, currently, right now, the county has, I think it's approximately $30 million in federal funds that are available, and.
That's not enough to even complete the parkway.
No, sir, that's the reason why the project was subdivided into 4 or 5 different functional sections. The whole entire corridor was designed as one corridor, and the packages for construction was broken up into, like I said, 4 or 5 different functional sections because FHWA required the county to do it as such. That's
So
the
we
reason why,
don't have enough money to complete it.
not at this time, not the whole entire corridor.
Okay, now
But-
we'll go to the second question. Because I think it's the parkway over there in Madison County, what they call it, yeah, Rackley. So once you build it, where's upkeep money gonna come from? And who's gonna repay it when it's time to be repaid? How the county is awful in certain parts, cause they can't even get money to get repaid. They were trying to get the stimulus money to repay. So who's gonna repay it? Do you have money in your budget? Where's the money coming from for upkeep and repayment? I know somebody thought about it. You can't build a roadway without upkeep and repayment. Any idea?
I would like to.
No, I think I'm answering this.
Well, I think the thing is that, like, say, for instance, the road is, I don't know about the Howland Common Parkway, how it was designed, but I know that the standards that we are using for designing this roadway, it's designed in accordance to FHA guidelines. And so the requirements for the pavement and different things like that, they are designed, of course, you are gonna have to maintain roads, but however, they are designed to be in a good condition where that you won't have to just do routine maintenance every year, like we would on some roads that sometimes, you might have a developer come in and he might put something that might be substandard to what you were expecting, but this is not that type.
Could we get a copy of the land use plan? I think you mentioned it was approved in 2005. The first majority was not here in 2005.
Yes, sir, actually.
I've seen it.
Yes, sir, actually, the plan, we have, it's a draft plan, the land use plan, the final plan has not been approved, but the draft has been submitted. We had, after we had the public hearings.
It's all right, it's all right. Let's do this, because I put down approved, because I thought I heard him say it was approved. Could you get legal copies and get members of this board a copy?
Would you
so we'll all be
differentiate?
on the same page. I'm talking about the land use plan right now. I know it's other things, but it'll help everybody see the land use plan finally. I think you mentioned about the wastewater study. And wastewater study sound good, but I just left a city that got hit, and I still think it'll be $1 billion. And they talking about $500 million. That wastewater's no joke. EPA and everybody else gonna be on top of you if this thing is not done right. You don't just go up there and say, we're gonna build a wastewater. I know you're doing a study, but where the money's gonna come from to build it? Any idea?
Well, that's one of the things as far as the study that we're doing, we're coming up with,
Suggestions?
recommendations as far as funding.
Thank you. Like I said, there's no indictment on IMS. I've seen and known the company for years and years and years, but these are the questions that gotta be asked. Supervisor Calhoun?
Yes, sir. The corridor was designed to improve transportation efficiency as well as support economic development. And once growth starts on any one segment, particularly in the northern area of the southern area, when businesses are located on the corridor. They want to help increase the tax base, and as a result of increased taxes, the Hinds County Board of Supervisors will be responsible for maintaining the road. As far as cost developments, we plan to create public-private partnerships. As a matter of fact, on hand, we have sufficient funding to begin the construction of the segment from Davis to Parks Road. We will have some balance of funds for the northern end. For the northern end, it's going to cost approximately $25 million. For the southern end, it'll cost approximately 17, or let's just say 18 million. But all we need is 10.5 million in new funding in order to complete both segments. It is our plan for 2014 to approach the Mississippi Department of Transportation to request that 10.5. We do have a plan in place, and we have strategies for working with the Mississippi Department of Transportation. The federal government has provided funds to the Mississippi Department of Transportation, not only to assist that department in their road work, or highway work, whatever, but also additional fundings have gone to the department to be distributed to local entities such as cities and counties. So we plan to forge ahead and taking advantage of being the recipient of some of those additional dollars that the Mississippi Department of Transportation will be capturing.
Reverend McCoy?
IMS representative, what is the exact scope of your work that your commission of Ohio Valley County do as it relates to this court?
One of the things we're in combination with Wagner Engineering, we are doing the design for the project. And we're doing the design. We did the environmental assessment with Wagner Engineering, and we acquired the right of way. We're managing the acquisition of the right of way. There's a right of way team that's doing that, but we're managing the acquisition of the right of way. And as far as IMS is concerned, we worked on this land use plan, and also to the wastewater feasibility study.
I didn't hear you indicate anywhere in it that it's your responsibility to figure out how to pay for it.
Supervisor Greer? Finally, government is such that you got to say exactly what's going on. Now, everybody in government realize counties don't get sales tax. You can build businesses and this and that. The thing about a business is the sales tax. The ad valorem tax you get on the furniture and fixtures of the building is really kind of low. I think the city of Jackson, our sales tax is something like $30 million. So we're not gonna get sales tax. So I don't want anybody to leave out here thinking somebody's gonna build some buildings and we're gonna have some sales tax money. That ain't gonna happen. Now, the money that you get off these buildings, unless you earmark, it's not gonna be enough even to earmark to upkeep a parkway and make the necessary repayments. Now, normally when you have plans, you give a planner. A planner gonna try to find out where you're gonna get money to pay for this. That's part of planning. Now, whether they told IMS they need them, I know they engineer, but they do planning too, unless we hire somebody else to do the planning. They should be trying to identify where we can try to get money. And finally, it's important that we don't double talk. Again, that's that flim and pigeon drop. 2 seconds is not the complete pathway. It's my understanding, it's 5. To sit up here and say, well, we're gonna complete 2, you haven't even done half of it. 2.5 would be half of 5. So I'm saying that let's not try to fool the public, because it'll come back and bite you. When you complete those segments and say, okay, we ain't got no more money, and I'm gonna tell you now, this is how I see it. If Supervisor Greer can't get the state to buy into this, the state, because I'm saying this now, the Fed's not. Get your mind off the Fed giving any more money. They're not playing any kind of games with this. Now, what Supervisor Greer had to deal with is new Tea Party mentality in Mississippi. And whether they feel like it's gonna help Jackson and Hinds County. Now, I don't want to put all that pressure on his back, but if the state don't come in with something, Fed's not gonna come with nothing. The city of Jackson said they're not floating a bond. It's gonna be an incomplete project, but I say it all the time. Supervisor Calhoun?
Yes, I, you know, we can sit here and debate all day long. This is a very viable project. This project is gonna create economic development, and as a result, jobs will be created for people of all of Hinds County. But, Mr. Supervisor, did I just hear you say that 1 mile, you were talking about the impact of 1 mile on economic development? Will you repeat what you just said, please?
Yes, but
What you said earlier.
but when you have a major corridor, the impact can be seen up to max of 1 mile. You can see it in other major corridors. That's theoretically shown. In fact, you've seen it as a south place. That is where our major corridor come here, or a transit line come here. Yeah, some developers, different is will come. That's what the whole land is going to be based on the anchor point.
Thank you. And I just want to say this. You talk about the impact of sales tax dollars. Right now, the majority of our retail sales tax dollars are going, and even Jackson's hemorrhaging, and Hinds County is hemorrhaging from the fact that the majority of our sales tax dollars are going to Madison and Rankin because they have in place establishments that promote economic development. They would love, if I live in Madison or Rankin, and I'm thankful that I live in Hinds County, but if I lived in Madison or Rankin, I would hear supervisors and applaud for discrediting or discounting the economic impact that the Byron Clean Corridor is going to have for Hinds County. But I don't think they want to see that, because if Hinds County, you know, we are considered, the Madison Rankin are considered our veteran communities. And I think they want to see Hinds County grow and progress just like they are growing and progressing. Simply because if you've got blight and whatever around you, some of that's going to filter all over into their community. So I think those counties are proud that we're working on this project. And as far as I know, the majority of the citizens in Hinds County are looking forward to this project. Matter of fact, they think the project should have been built years ago, back in, when was it? We received the first round of funding back in 1993. Just yesterday, I was around a lot of citizens that were pleased with the direction that this county is going in. Pleased with the fact that we are trying to do some things to better this county, and pleased that we're not trying to empty their pockets of their hard-earned working dollars. And they were very, very complimentary. The night before, I was at a community function where there were several people that also came to me and spoke about the fact that they are pleased with the direction that this county is going in and that we are trying to promote and support economic development. This project is going to happen. It's not going to happen because of me. It's not going to happen because of Supervisor McCraven. It's not going to happen because of Supervisor McCraven. It's McCraven and Supervisor Greer. It's going to happen because the people of Hinds County want it to happen. And so they support us in our endeavors.
Supervisor McQuaid?
Thank you again. I don't believe in just discussing and going on and on and on about something, how we're going to do it, we're not going to do it. I want to be at half of Darrell Word in District 2. I'm encouraging IMS to get out of coasting phase and shift gears to a full steam ahead phase that I will do what I can to see if we can secure additional votes to have things move forward.
Supervisor Greer?
I would like to reiterate what Supervisor Calhoun said. I've had conversations with the mayor of Byron, Richard White, Mayor of Clinton, former Supervisor Phil Fisher, the mayor of Raymond, Iowa Tullis, and Dr. Clyde Muse at Hinds Community College. All strongly. These are just ones that I've had personal contact with. Strongly support this project. In turn, I strongly support this project and will help seek resources, whatever I can do to help this project along. It is an economic development tool. There are revenue components to any economic development tool. We have ad valorem tax increases and that sort of thing. Not increases, but additional ad valorem tax. I commit to seeing this project go forward. I do know that Congress no longer has earmarks. They don't provide earmarks for large projects like this. But this is what's considered a high priority project, and so that does affect funding through MDOT. And that's what I want to see all of us work together to try to obtain that money for this high priority project. So.
And let me just say, I can give you a long list of elected officials that support the project, but Mayor Lamuna also supports the project.
Well, let me say that. Now, I talked to him the other night, and he does not support it. Now, we can bring him in here and meet to make sure. But let me say this, I've been around government long enough, and that's why I think they said they want to have a more informal, informational work session so we can discuss these things openly. I saw this flam a long time ago. I saw it when Senator Kirksey was telling people that JSU Parkway would not be what they said it was going to be, whether you call it Robert Smith or JSU. Yeah, they said the same thing you're hearing up here now. Oh, it's going to be economic growth. We're going to have business, they call them business nodes. Go get the study. All of that was said that you hear up here now. It was there, a road. Now, who's upkeeping it? Nobody really knows. It needs to be repaid now. Like how the car needs to be repaid. 30 years. Most of us up here won't be here 30 years from now. Again, you can go to a pigeon dropper. He gonna make you think that you finna get $1 million and all you get is paper. Thank you. Ready for the next issue. Contracts. Thank y'all so much, IMS.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good job.
Yes, sir.
One of the things that we had began to discuss and look at various contracts throughout the county, and I've talked to the legal departments for reviewing some of them. There was some concerns on my part as far as having to vote on certain issues contracts will expire and might continue ongoing contracts will term. Date conditions, time limits, or anything else. And so we have discussed several, one of the ones we have brought to the attention was the contracts regarding the sirens, of which I did receive a memo indicating that contract has been canceled for the maintenance of the sirens. Another one would be out of the stack, and I had the actual would be the tower maintenance contract service agreement. There was a third service agreement. I'm still not clear on that one. Additional service agreement, I'm not sure on that one. And then there was a maintenance agreement on the communication systems itself. I've talked with representatives of Airways and I talked with them in regards to exactly what those contracts were. They indicated that one was a service maintenance agreement on the antenna towers themselves, 6 different sites throughout the county. And also that the other one was a maintenance contract for the communication system. And the third contract did not have a monetary value on it, but it was just something that they were doing to assist the county on a third contract. I thought they may have been here today, but they expressed to them that we were going to discuss it today, but they're not here. I'm asking of you, are you aware of those 3 contracts?
I'm only aware of 2, I'm not aware of a third. I'm aware of the one for the radio system, and I'm aware of the one for the tower antenna site maintenance.
Those are the only 2 that I'm aware of.
All right, is there a third service agreement or something?
That's a good question. I don't think there is an actual third agreement. There seems to be some sort of, for lack of a better term, operating arrangement. I don't know that there's a third written document. What I would like to update the board on, and Mr. Perkins and I have discussed this morning, on yesterday, well, let me back up to last week.
Before you start, could you tell me what that operational arrangement is, please?
Trying to sort through that, Supervisor Calhoun. If you let me back up to last week and bring it forward, I think I'll be able to answer some questions, Supervisor Calhoun, and then lay a framework for answering the others. Last week, there was some concern expressed by the board with respect to what agreements are actually in place with Airways and what are the requirements under that. And in fact, Airways has had some claims pending that the board has not been comfortable voting for and have held. At the request of the board last week, both Mr. Perkins sent an email to Airways asking for certain information, and Mr. Simon sent an actual letter to Airways asking for certain information. That information included the contracts and various supporting documents. Yesterday, we had hand-delivered to the board attorney's office a cover letter from the attorney for Airways and a stack of documents. And they reference 3 agreements or 3 contracts. We have not had time to go through those and discern exactly what we are. Speaking with Mr. Perkins this morning, he has agreed that he will first review the box of documents that have been provided. And those are supposedly supporting documents for the work that Airways has been done. Mr. Perkins has more expertise in this area than we do as attorneys. Likewise, we're going to then follow up with Mr. Perkins, hopefully next week, to discuss both the agreement supporting documents and be in a better position to advise you as to what is existing with respect to Airways, what your options are with respect to what is existing, and whether the supporting documentation is something that Mr. Perkins is comfortable with as the appropriate supporting documentation. Let me go ahead and move one step further. There is an outstanding invoice for October work performed by Airways. It's our recommendation as your legal counsel that you pay the October invoice. Now, there have been some other invoices submitted, and we would recommend you hold the other invoices other than October until Mr. Perkins, myself, and Mr. Simon can sort through this, and if need be, also meet with counsel for airwaves. And I think, you know, the October invoice predated this inquiry. By state statute, we had 45 days to pay that. That was submitted at the beginning of November, so it will be due by Monday's meeting. I think we should pay that. I will also tell you that before the next invoice will be due under state statute, which will be January 15th, I've spoken with Mr. Perkins, and we're confident we can have the questions answered that the board wants answered.
Supervisor Calhoun.
The renewal dates on those two contracts, the towers and communications.
I know on the radio system, maintenance one, I believe it's either October or November 1. On the other one, I think it just automatically renews every year. They both automatically renew unless written. I don't know the exact terms on it there.
I think Mr. Perkins is right. These are agreements that do have automatic renewals. However, there are also options to discontinue those contracts as well. And I think it would be best if we put those options in memo form to the board so that the board can, based on the information and advice of Mr. Perkins as to performance, and then also look at the options that are there in the contracts, can decide how it wants to proceed. So yes, Mr. Perkins, I agree with you, automatic renewals, but I would say there are termination clauses that are applicable as well.
Supervisor Green.
The one that we're talking, one of them is a site maintenance contract for the 6 hours.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and what is the annual amount on that?
It's $122,000 and some change. It's like $30,511.
Is that mostly just like grounds upkeep, that kind of thing?
It's cutting the grass, checking the propane tank, make sure propane's in it, looking at the buildings, you know, lights, smoke alarms, things like that.
General type.
Generators, air conditioners.
Deputy Sheriff PQ, is that something that we could use inmates for general grounds maintenance, that kind of thing?
We could use them for the grass cut, keeping, general maintenance.
Okay, some of the more technical stuff.
Probably maintenance would have to do the generators and things of that nature.
That's all.
My question, Peter, is, I'm concerned, number one, because now we got lawyers involved.
Yes, sir.
Now, and I can understand them in the body got these questions, but it's a different thing when they put you on that stand. They're gonna put something on that stand. And when they put them on that stand, ask these other things, then it's gonna turn. So I'm just hoping that you can get a meeting of the minds with the lawyers, because I can see this going to court, but my question is with CMC. And we deal with contracts as a whole. I don't want to sing out on one contract and I even have it on the agenda. My understanding is that CMMC is selling, somebody is getting ready to take it over. What's our role as the board of supervisors, because it's really Hinds General Hospital. How can they sell without some kind of responsibility or some kind of leeway with Hinds County and the board of supervisors and our attorneys?
This is CMFC. Let me back up Airways and I'll address CMFC. Right now, the lawyers for Airways, the only thing they've asked us to do is pay the October invoice, and based on our review, we agree with that request to pay that October invoice. So even though lawyers are involved, Supervisor Stokes, I do think that the production of documents will allow us to have a meaningful dialogue both with the lawyers from Airways as well as with the board. So I think we're going to be able to work through these concerns. And the only request I think we can meet on Monday, which is pay the October invoicing, that would be my recommendation to the board. On CMMC, there are several files with respect to CMMC, and we have done a preliminary review of those. It would seem that if the current company that is managing CMMC, they could transfer their lease arrangement or their arrangement to a new company. And the question would be whether they would have to ask us for approval. But, nobody has, to my knowledge, directly contacted the board, certainly not the board attorney's office since we've been here, and offered a proposal about how they want to go forward. But, it's my understanding, probably they're selling their lease to another company who's going to assume the same terms. Now, the board may have a question as to whether the terms that it currently has with whomever are actually good terms for the county, and may want that revisited as well. And I think Supervisor Stokes, that may be your underlying concern. It's not just.
Do you have a contract? I thought contracts gonna be about all contracts, not just singling out people.
Sure.
We don't see contract. That's my biggest concern as a supervisor. At the city, we saw each and every contract, got a chance to read them and everything else. At the county, you don't see no contracts. And then you mentioned just a minute ago, automatic renewals. What in the hell is that? How can you just automatically have a contract renewed without coming back to the board? I don't know what kind of board supervisor it used to be, but this is absolutely insanity.
Supervisor Stokes, I agree with you 100% regarding the fact that there is no conformity. We do have procedures in place where, a policy in place where all contracts should come back before the board prior to being renewed or whatever.
Well, contracts should have a beginning and an ending.
True, and even,
Beginning, ending, not beginning, automatic renewal.
that's the convenience for a contractor. And that one little clause in that contract is just slipped right on by the board of the supervisor, and I agree with you 100%. And we should have that protection, and that protection is not being provided to the board of supervisors. I agree with you.
It seems like they violate the rules of perpetuity. Now, I don't know legally, Pete, I need that to y'all, but it seems like that automatic renewal will violate the rules of perpetuity. But could we get a copy of the contract with CM?
Yes.
The latest, whatever it is.
Yes, sir.
And let's find some grounds where we can get involved in this. They can't just transfer hospitals and do this and that, and we really own the hospital. Well, I think we need to give them a right to leasing and running or something. That's what I'm saying. The contract need to be truly explored by good lawyers.
We will produce that CMMC contract to all 5 members of the board.
And that's on the agenda for Monday. Could you?
And
Yes.
if you could revamp our contract policy, and I don't think any contract should be inserted even into the minutes without the stamp of approval of this board. And contracts aren't being inserted in the minutes without this board's knowledge. I mean, Chancellor Clerk sometimes will provide us with the information, but the contracts are not coming back before this board with the stamp of approval.
Yes, let me understand this correctly. Supervisor Calhoun, would you like us to recommend a revised procedure that would address these concerns? Because I go back to Supervisor Stokes referencing the city. Various contracts will be vetted by different departments before they were even approved to the city council. Presented to the city council for approval. So by the time the city council got them, there was some comfort level that they had already been vetted by both the department, finance, legal. That's one way to do it. I was looking at a recent contract that the state gave with respect to some media advertising over the holidays. And it was interesting, there's a stamp on the bottom of that contract where there's about 4 different signatories to it. One of them, of course, is legal, one of them was finance, and another was department director in that particular case, Department of Public Safety. And so we can certainly recommend, and I would tell you as a lawyer, I would feel a lot more comfortable if we did some of these things as well. We haven't had any automatic renewal contracts in the last 2.5 months. I said before, I'm not comfortable as your attorney recommending such things. Even if there's an automatic renewal, then you gotta make sure there's an out of another way, in other words, 30-day termination notice. Maybe you do want some automatic renewal for some stability, but you also gotta make sure you have an out to get out of it. So I certainly would recommend.
Even if we're notified 2 months or 3 months in advance that this particular contract is going to come up for renewal,
And that's one thing we're working through as well. We're trying to design, we've got a database of contracts now that we're confident is about 90% accurate. Now we're trying to divide a spreadsheet and tickling system that would actually provide that information, Supervisor Calhoun, to the entire board, so that as you go through the year, you know what's coming up, whether it's a purported automatic renewal or it has an outdate or what have you. Because really that's the way business should be presented to the board. And I'm not sure why that hasn't been done in the past, but I agree. I think it's great to hear all four of you speaking to the same issue and having the same concerns.
You know, we start, you know, the information is provided and then it slacks. It changed attorneys and whatever, so.
I would like to go back to the original contract issue, and it's not singling out any one vendor. I spoke with legal pertaining to about 5 or 6 contracts, including their contract.
Yes, sir.
And the conversation was providing all of these contracts and looking at everything that we're discussing right now. So it's not a matter of singling out any one individual contract, and I would like to finish that before we go on to the next one. I'm not aware of the CMMC contracts and issues as well, so I was kind of caught off guard with that person. But again, on this specific one, I was going to, after you all reviewed those particular documents concerning that, also asking Mr. Burns if they could give us an idea or recommendation as to which one of those items can be done within your department, as far as looking ahead, as far as addressing things that we have to contract out and things that can be done in-house. Also, letting this board, for warning this board, there is a serious issue coming up pertaining to the overall radio system as a whole that we're going to have to address. And you can't wait until the last minute to address it. It is a serious issue that the EOC director has indicated that every vendor has brought to our attention. The current maintenance crew and staff consistent of Airways and North Star has brought it to our attention. And coming out of that background, I would agree with all of them that it is a serious issue that we're going to have to address sooner more so than later. But I'm also asking of the EOC, director to provide us, as they review those documents, which one of those items can be done in-house, and which one of them do your department, what they lack the expertise in and being able to handle, then we may have to consider sourcing those items out when you'll review the documents coming up. The other thing was, I also asked for a list of all of the contracts and given the legal department time to work on that very database that they were talking about and identify all of those different contracts. I will yield to the fact that you are working on it. You have made some progress in identifying as well as, and that goes all from a legal standpoint of view to, again, changing of the line code contracts. So we want to look at all of them. Some probably have been there for a long time. We don't know anything about it, including the CMMC contract.
And interlocal agreements.
Yes. Are you through, Red? Let me respond, please.
Let me make sure she's through before we go. Are you through?
We're not going to answer if you guys can.
Okay.
We can provide you with the most recent version of the list of contracts, and Supervisor Calhoun, you're correct, interlocal agreements, we're considering those as contracts as well, and incorporating those. Supervisor McWhorter will give you that today. And it would help if the board then, obviously we hear CMMCs are concerned, there's some concern about looking at Airways. If you as a board can tell us, because there are over 200 of these, which ones are your priorities, we will of course focus from there. And I want to go back to something Supervisor Calhoun said, because I think she has absolutely get this nail on the head. There has to be a system in place. It should not be dependent on lawyers or changing lawyers or good lawyers or other lawyers getting overwhelmed or anything else. Same can be said for county administrators. There has to be a system in place, and that's what we're trying to do, and we feel very confident we're gonna have that system in place, so that regardless of whether you keep us around or not, in the future, you don't have to revisit this issue. There are these tracking systems, there are master dockets, there are tickler systems. And I think that's just fundamental good business management, whether it's private business or public business, that y'all need. And we're working on those. And Supervisor Carroll, I think you absolutely are correct. It shouldn't depend on who your lawyers are, or your administrator, or your department heads, or anybody else.
Let me add this to that. There were some, I don't know if they're contracts or just general statements or basically, let's get this group to check into this or let's get this group to follow up on it. Now, how do you handle that? Because that's not a written contract and you don't know what you're gonna get on the bill until after they run and look at it and you're shocked by the bills. And I think we're dealing with one of those with the hailstorm insurance settlement. The bill may end up being more than the claim itself. But how do we handle those type of open-ended gestures and comments?
First and foremost, I think we have to make sure as legal counsel to the board, whether it's us or anyone else, that the contracts account for those situations and say what is routine and what is beyond routine. And then if something is beyond routine, it needs to be clear that this is going to be an additional charge and we're asking you for an estimate of what this will cost, not just go do it and let us know. We've seen that, I think at the last meeting, I asked you to pay, last meeting for some invoices for an appraiser that had done some work some time back. And again, those are the types of things, whether it's just asking someone to do, the board speaks through its minutes. And we should never be in a position of off the cuff asking people to do something and then getting a surprise bill in the rear, so to speak. At least there ought to be an estimate up front so that folks know whether they have that within their budget. If they don't have it within their budget or it seems like a high cost, that matter is discussed with the board before further action is taken.
Yes, sir. Supervisor Green?
Yeah, Peter, I appreciate your comments. We've had a lot of conversations about best practices. Carmen, we've talked about that as well. I think every department needs to review what their best practices are for how they handle and conduct their business. And a lot of stuff needs to go through the legal team. For all of you, Peter and Anthony and Kimberly, I know you guys are overwhelmed. We have overwhelmed you with work, and we are certainly getting our money's worth from the service you guys provide. So, in all the conversations that I've had with any of you guys, has been incredibly positive about what you're looking to do for the county. And that is, again, provide best practices, top-notch legal service, and keep us out of jail. Right? So thank you for everything you're doing and all the response that you give to us when we make demands on you for your time.
And if you can't pay that bond money back, you go back to jail.
Well, let me say no, they don't go. I've been upstairs enough.
Well, you know, now Supervisor Stokes, I got threatened with incarceration defending you and the city council.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm probably only lawyer y'all ever have who's willing to go to jail for you.
So you go to math?
I will go to math for you.
Let me say this about we speak through our minutes. This is something, I'm not gonna ever try to tell any supervisor what to do or say, because everybody's grown up here. But a good lawyer, Simon in his old days, he would get the minutes and he'll show where, and again, Supervisor probably not pointing at anybody, but he'll show that since you've been here, Airways is the major contract you brought up on the record. Even though you may have talked to legal about other things, they're gonna say in court, you speak through your minutes. What does the minutes say? That's why I say we can't say everything that's being said. In here, you got to go to executive session if that's how you feel. Because these good lawyers waiting to sue this shit. I'm not criticizing the county attorneys. They did a good job, one at a time and everything. But this is big ball politics now. And they waiting to sue us on every little thing come along. And these contracts are important, that we don't get stuff on the record that's gonna come back to bite. In terms of Motorola, you know, I share, and I don't know if her concern says, change Supervisor Calhoun concerns. How can you sue these folks and then come back and get in bed with them? You know, it just seems like something wrong with that picture. You know, and I know they keep saying, well, we need a new system. I keep hearing that. I'm not a radio expert. I don't claim to be. But if the system, if the radios are working, let's keep what we got and let's pay them all. Well, you'll never pay them all. You know, again, we back this flim. Let's give somebody some money. I don't hear the chat, everybody saying the system not working. Again, I don't know radio. I don't claim to know radio. But I do have common sense. You know, these radios are working, leave these radios alone. If they're not working, then you put up a request for proposals. But I still have a problem. We gonna sue these people. I went on the board, and I know the majority went on the board. And then you get a judgment, and then I think they see up there. They see up the results or something, and we don't know what really happened, the majority of us. But now they coming back and say, well, we're gonna be y'all friends and this and that. I have a problem with that. That's just my position on that. In terms of CMMC, Peter, now y'all gonna get everybody a copy of the contract.
Yes, sir.
Would y'all also open the lines of communication with their lawyers?
Yes, sir.
Because it's lawyers for CMMC and it's lawyers for people buying it. It's my understanding this sale is complete as of Friday, it might be Monday. We need to know when everything is complete and let them know that the county may have some concerns. Thank you, Mr. President. We'll start going down to Supervisor Calhoun and come down and be hit for this. And I think we got 11:30. Now, I don't know if everybody will take a break before 11:30, get somebody a chance to call Judge Green and see if we meet with her, but we'll start with Supervisor Calhoun.
Supervisor Stokes, again, this morning, I agree with another statement that you made, and that is, how can you sue somebody and you turn around and give a bid with them? I agree with that.
It's bewildering to say the least.
It's just like getting a divorce.
Let me address Motorola. We do have a copy of that settlement agreement. Mr. Simon was able to obtain that. We had to obtain that directly from Motorola's lawyers, but if any of you would like to read that agreement, we do have a copy, and seems like in order of our discussion, we probably ought to just distribute that to the entire board.
And if you distribute, that's one way, but also brief us, tell us, because sometimes those, they get real thick, we might miss them.
This one's pretty thin. I think we'll furnish it to you if you have any questions you'll ask, but this is not one. CMMC will be different. You may want to be briefed on certain provisions. The Motorola agreement is pretty thin, but we'll have that provided to you as well.
Okay, Reverend McCoy? Supervisor McCoy.
Thank you. The only other thing I wanted to add to that is, again, I have requested all contracts being reviewed, and I did talk to legal as to what we can discuss in open session or what we do need to discuss in executive session. I do have a background, I do have a level of expertise when it comes to communication. And I would even say that if you were to ask the sheriff department what does the future hold, they would give you an answer as well. As a proud father, husband, and grandfather, I've got an old truck that sometimes I let the tires get a little wear on and get a little thin on the edge, but I make sure that the tires on the vehicle that my wife or my children or grandchildren are riding in, I can't take a risk on those, especially on a high-speed road or anything else. With an old work truck, I kind of pedal it around and piece it together as long as I can. And I said all I have to say is, when it comes to just radios and communication systems, as it relates to just general operating, contacting, talking to one another in a non-emergency situation, you can get by, you can patch it. But when you've got an older system that you can't get parts for, and that older system breaks down and it shuts the entire system down, people who risk their lives, of which I put my life on the line for 28 years in that field, understand the importance of communication. The system is working, but there's no guarantee as to what day one major part will break down and you can no longer get that part. That's the urgency of it. Yes, we can get away, we can get along, we can patch it, but our patching days are running thin right now. And that's one area we cannot, I would advise this board to not take a chance on, especially when we have funds that are specifically designated by the law for that purpose to maintain and upkeep a adequate regular system that meets all regulations. And I can't speak to that one directly based off of first-hand knowledge and figure with it. And again, I want to address all contracts, not just a specific one, but that is a specific one we can address that I brought up to EOC director, as well as looking into some purchasing agreements that I think Mr. Pearson is looking into as well on some contracts as it relates to that as well. So, thank you.
Supervisor Stokes.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, one comment. One of the interesting things about these communication systems is the manufacturers, not the service providers, airways, but the manufacturers. They phase in new technology and then they stop making replacement parts. It's, I hate to go back to the 80s and make a reference to RoboCop, but the movie RoboCop was about building a defense system that would then break and you'd have to replace it for years on end. And in some ways, these communication systems are the same way. They're state of the art today, but the manufacturers will go get something like P25 legislation, then you'll have to upgrade. Or if they don't get new legislation, they'll stop building parts because they'll say that technology is old. And for those of us who have an iPhone, it's no different. You can't run the new iPhone software on the first iPhone, even if you still have the first iPhone. So part of that is kind of the technology game, so to speak. And I think, as we're moving forward, I think those are some of the concerns about the system. I think your concerns about paying for a system that's here are legitimate, but also just from a board standpoint, you have to consider how long can we service the system. And this is one of those things where I think all of you kind of have valid points, and as a body, you've got to sort through those valid points to see what's best.
Supervisor Green?
I just want to say that, the whole process of looking at things in great detail, all the different departments, contracts, all those sort of things, and even having routine work sessions. All that is just part of excellence in government. Good government begins with developing policies and procedures, being critical of the contracts and arrangements you have in place, challenging department heads, leaders in different areas, all those kind of things. I'm just real bullish on Hinds County. I think we're headed in that direction. So I'm excited about what we've done here today and what we're going to be doing in the future to change some of these systems that we have in place and shining a light in different areas, inefficiencies, all those kind of things. And I think we're heading in the right direction. I think today was a good start.
Okay, now it's about 10:30, and we're gonna try to, we will just give her a calendar allows because she's in trial.
Yes.
11:30.
Yes.
So we probably want to recess this meeting.
We need to recess until 11:30. In the meantime, we'll walk across the street and find out where she is exactly in trial, and in terms of her, when she'll be able to take that exact break and come back and let you know.
Let me ask this to the members of this body, just in case we can't meet at 11:30, she might have later part of the day. Is it the body's, is it your view that we should go meet with her today, whatever time she has available, and we'll let legal call us, we'll recess, we'll say to a certain time as her schedule opens up. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
I think she's working towards 11:30. We be flexible.
If it's something else, could we get a motion to that effect, please?
So
In terms of the recess?
Motion to recess and reconvene, and let's just say at 11:30. Obviously, we'll know in the next few minutes,
We have a vote
hopefully.
in this session regarding that, or that's the work session.
That's an interesting question.
This is a work session.
Correct. You know, it's an interesting question. Let me go ahead and say this openly so we can do this as best as we deem proper. Work sessions are not provided for under state statute. Supervisor Stokes, you've always said that. You said that for years. At the city, you said that. But to the extent that we have a quorum of the board present, we noticed this meeting accordingly, so the public will be noticed. And of course, we've done everything in open session. I think we can, if a quorum is going to meet with Judge Green, likewise, take that into executive session. And Greta, as I said earlier, I will make sure you have the appropriate minutes or reference to that by tomorrow. So we can do that in executive session.
Okay, do you want to take motion now for executive?
We don't need.
Wait till we get over there?
Wait till we either, and the question then is again, whether you'd like the judge to come over here or want to go across the street.
Whichever one you tell us. You done called us individually, let us know.
Yes, sir.
And we, you know, where you want to come over here.
I think we ought to reconvene here at 11:30, that would be my suggestion, and then we can announce what we're going to do and make sure we've written it down appropriately so Greta can record it.
That's only for those individuals that are going to meet with her.
Yes, that's correct, Supervisor Catlin.
Supervisor Stokes?
Yes, sir. Indication of how Monday meeting is gonna go?
Yeah, 2:30.
No, sir. I don't. Ms. Michael told me a long time ago, don't serve as the chairman, and she called me this morning. How you want to close it, Peter?
We're just gonna stand.
Make any motions or anything.
We don't need to make any motions or anything.
We're gonna stand in recess.
Right, you got it.
Thank you, sir. This meeting, we'll hear from Peter, Mr. Taylorson, our attorney.
Thank you, Supervisor Stokes. We want to reflect that Supervisor Stokes, Supervisor Greer, Supervisor Recorder are present. We were in a work session earlier this morning, and we took a recess from that work session and have now returned at 11:37, correct, Greta? For the purpose of having a visit from the Senior Circuit Judge, Tommy Green, and she should be here momentarily according to her bailiff. While a work session is not an unofficial meeting of the board, the fact that we have 3 members present and have a quorum, out of an abundance of caution, I would like us to actually vote to go into closed and then executive session. And the purpose for that will be to discuss the grand jury report, which is a specific exemption under the Open Meetings Act. Of course, this also pertains to ongoing litigation we have about the jail.
Need a motion?
Can we just, instead of doing that, can you just ask the people to leave that you don't want in here?
We could.
Well, there's the issue of if you have a quorum, though.
I think that's,
You have to have an open meeting.
let us make a record that we have gone into executive session. I think there's a question as to whether we have to actually do that or not, but out of abundance of caution, let's just say we've gone into executive session. We're not going to take any action today. It's merely for a report and dialogue with the judge.
Okay, we need a motion.
Please.
Need a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor?
I'm sorry, who made the motion? Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, Mr. Stokes.
Motion passed 3-0. All right, now we need a motion to,
Go into, that was the motion to go into closed session. This will be the motion to go into executive session.
and the reason?
Reason is to discuss the grand jury report.
Need a second?
Second.
Been moved and properly second. All in favor? Yes, that means we have 3 in favor, 0 opposed. We're not in closed session.
And we can do it either in here or in the board conference room. And again, I expect her momentarily. They're trying a murder case over there. The jury had gone out and her bailiff said she would be over here at 11:30.
Yeah, we'll go to conference room. What we'll do, we'll go in the conference room when she comes, and we can start, 'cause I know, it's gonna be real tight.